Subscribe to the channel. Students, when did one classmate get the entire class into trouble? We used to be the most misbehaved students in the whole school. We were only in the 7th grade, but we already made a name for ourselves. Every teacher tried to avoid our class. Some who were unfortunate enough to teach usually encountered difficult times. We were out of control. Every teacher's nightmare. We can do whatever we want. So we've thought. At the beginning of the year we were told that we have to partake a 1-hour class per week of counseling. The school had only one counselor trained to teach such class, so she had to deal with all the classes, including us. Now, think about someone who would remember the faces and names of 200 students. That's pretty much impossible. So, our brilliant idea was to jump out of the window while she turns around to write on the blackboard. It all made sense, because we were a big class of 30 and we were situated on the ground floor. All it takes now was courage. My classmates thought I was out of my mind. However, I told them to be patient and to open the window. We were sitting far behind on the last 2 rows. The teacher/counselor turned to write down the key points of the lesson, so the students can take notes. Like everybody was curious about it, and at the same time, my backpack flies through the window. It's on now. Everybody is waiting for it. People in front have no idea what's happening. My classmates in the back are trying not to laugh. The teacher turns around and continues with her presentation. Nothing happened. She turns for the blackboard again and here I go now. 1 foot on the ledge. Silence as a cat. Another foot out of the window. Now prepare for the fall. Smoothly landed. I'm taking cover underneath 2 windows and my heart was pounding. I can't hear anything. I grab my backpack and I make a run for it. It was the last class of the day. I'm calling home early. I cross over the fence behind the gym and I'm out. My classmate texted me, "You are insane." I replied, "Told you it was nothing." The teacher didn't notice anything because she literally taught to so many students. She must have felt completely overwhelmed. Next week in class, same hour with our beloved teacher. Everybody still remembered what happened last time. How could they forget? However, now it was time for all of us to go for it. Just go for it. Same strategy. She would turn to write on the blackboard. We throw our backpacks. She turns again. We go for it. So, we did. We waited about 15 minutes into the class and then opened the window to let some fresh air in. Good thing it was a sunny day. There were 4 of us, all sitting at the back, not making a sound. The first backpack goes, beautifully thrown. The second one thrown, decent land. I throw mine next to the other ones, aiming perfectly so I doesn't make a sound. It's down to the last one now. My classmate aims for the open window, but fails to deliver a good throw. Hiss misses the opening and smashes the backpack into the ledge. The teacher took notice and approached the window. She saw all the backpacks thrown outside, and she wondered for a second what could this mean. She soon figured out what we were up to and demanded to know who had the idea. Nobody said anything. Silence. My classmates were loyal. I liked that about them. She was furious because she didn't want to look incompetent in front of other teachers. I mean, how can your students jump out of the window during class? Nevertheless, she made us sit in the first rows from now on and all the windows remained shut for the classes that came afterwards. Back in high school I had this one colleague that used to pull pranks on teachers, but never got caught. He was quite the artist. Some of the pranks were more serious than others. One of them for example was when he stole a notebook from the math teacher. Our teacher used this notebook to structure her class and to give us homework and so on. For a week or so she panicked, and we ended up getting the time off from math until she can sort out her material. This was quite important to her because the exam period, and if she doesn't have her exercises, she can't construct the exam. Of course, she retaliated. She was questioning every class and every student about the notebook, just like a detective. The rumors were that she doesn't necessarily knows math this well, and she strongly relies on her notebook. Losing the guidebook meant losing herself. In a way, it was interesting to test this theory, and it turned out to be partially true. Everything was quite entertaining to observe, for the first part of it anyway. After she realized no one is going to admit the fault, she decided to punish all of us. She gave us 3 random math exams in a week, all random subjects and exercises. She said that the ultimate mark we will receive will be made up from the average mark we get considering all 3 exams. We were to have the first one on Monday, the second one on Wednesday and the last one on Friday. Usually, we would get only one exam at the end of the term. However, this time it was special. And remember, because the teacher "lost the notebook," all the subjects for the exams was something that we weren't sure if we covered or not. Basically, things were not looking good. We encouraged our classmate to give her back the notebook so that everything will go away. The notebook magically reappeared in her drawer a few days after. She never tells anyone, however. She will proceed with the exams like she agreed, and we will have to suffer the excruciating math problems. It sure made us laugh at first and it still does now, so no regrets. Back in school we were a big class of 40 or 50 students. Our school was situated in like a bigger village, being the only school in the area. Students from smaller villages nearby had to send their kids to school in our town, hence the bigger classes. Because of this, the way our class was taught was very much based on notes, formulas, ideas all written on a huge blackboard so that the students can copy down the notes and later on revise them. This was absolutely necessary because just imagine speaking over 50 10-year-old students. It wasn't as silent as in a cinema, that's all I need to say. So, our teachers and fellow students relied very much on this blackboard. In those areas it used to be really cold during winter. It was usually snowing a lot, but everyone still had to go to school. Our parents used to say, "It's either school or you will be stuck in this village forever." So, I usually listened to them, because I knew there was so much more to be seen. However, we were young, we were kids. For us, snow meant joy most of the times. This one particular time I remember all of us at school having a snowball fight. Even the girls got involved, and they managed to place some really good shots. The fun was on. We were so into it that we didn't even hear the school bell ring. Our colleagues inside kept telling us get back in class because our teacher is supposed to arrive, but we pay no attention at all. We were having too much of a good time. We used to mock them, telling them they should come outside and play with us. We teased them by throwing snowballs in the classroom as they were leaning over the window ledge to call us in. The whole thing started to become funny, so more of us began to throw snowballs inside. You know, depending on the type of snow, when you make a snowball and you hold it in your hands long enough, because from the warmth, it gets smaller and thicker just like ice. Such snowball flew across the classroom, landing straight into one of the corners of the blackboard. It made a really loud sound and a huge crack started to appear across the blackboard. Everybody stopped in silence, panicking for a moment. Looking left and right, you couldn't tell who threw the snowball. We knew we were in trouble. Few moments later our teacher walks into the classroom and sees what happened. He gets absolutely furious and continues saying that this needs to be fixed straight away and that all of us are responsible for this. If nobody wants to step forward, nobody will come forward anyway because nobody saw anything. Maybe not even the person throwing hadn't seen their snowball flying across and hitting the blackboard. It was a tricky situation. The teacher demanded that all of the class should contribute to a new blackboard. In a sense, I believe it was better this way, because a blackboard that size was really expensive and none of our families were very rich. So, maybe splitting the cost made a lot of sense. After all, it was all of us that had fun, right? There was this period back in high school when I tried smoking cigarettes like most teenagers. The issue was that this was on school premises. My classmates a low-key spot behind the gym where they would usually to smoke a few puffs during break. They used to sit on all corners watching out for anybody who might come to disrupt the party. It was quite a long time ago, so there wasn't any CCTV installed. The whole operation was smoothly handled, and we were then on our way to class while chewing gum to cover the smell of smoke. For a whole year we managed to smoke on school premises without the teacher realizing. In the following year, we got more confident about the whole thing. We weren't as vigilant as before. Also, more people find out about our spot and more students started smoking. So, the vicious circle got bigger. My classmate Michael kept bragging to everybody how we managed to dodge the teachers like this for a whole year. He used to show off in front of girls, so he would seem like a "bad boy." Most people started to pay attention and our subtle hideout was blowing smoke like a chimney. It did not take long for a teacher to notice and try to catch us doing it. They figured out where we were going on most breaks and followed us along. There were 2 of them coming at the same, so they covered all the ways you could go. Some students panicked and threw the cigarettes straight away. Some of them panicked even more and jumped the fence before the teacher got to us. Probably those are going to be in most trouble after, if they had seen their faces. Most of us, especially the ones from the previous year, minded our own business. We knew we were already compromised. We threw away our cigarettes when the teachers were close, but Michael continued smoking. He had more than half left, so he didn't want to waste anything. "What do you think you are doing, young man?" one of the teachers said. "Please let me finish," Michael simply said. What a true legend with thought. He continued saying, "I hate the fact that it came out like this, but we are almost adults. We are 17. We should be allowed," he said while we were staring at him with our jaws to the floor. It was our final year, so we were so used to everything you could afford, having a bit of fun, doing whatever you want to make sure the teachers will still remember you after you're gone. You will be allowed to do whatever you want when you will leave this school, Mr. Collins, one of the teachers said angrily. "Now get back in class. All of you." As a consequence, all our parents were summoned to school. They talked to each and every one in private, so they would be aware what their children are up to. In addition, Michael in particular had to stand in front of all the teachers explaining himself and what happened. They almost expelled him, but he was a decent student who was about to graduate. So, they thankfully showed mercy. However, mostly because of him, they used to check our bags and pockets from then. Every morning our backpacks were called for inspection to check if any students have cigarettes on them. Teachers were put on a rota to patrol around the gym area or bathrooms to make sure everyone is following the no smoke policy. The good days were over. We soon graduated however, and we were free to do whatever we want. Afterwards, we quit smoking anyway. It wasn't as fun as in high school. Our history teacher used to also teach a parallel class. The curriculum was the same, and we were also in the same year. So essentially, everything was similar, including the tests and the exams. More than often, when the week for the tests came around, we were prepared. We used to have history only once a week and the other class was always having the class in the morning before us, while we were having it later after lunch. It was a small school, so everybody were friends and talking with each other. We used to meet with students from the other class after they would have their test and copy all the subjects and answers. Sometimes, it felt like it was too easy. Knowing everything, the only thing you had to do was intentionally making a mistake on the test, so it wouldn't be too obvious that you knew everything spot on. Our teacher always used to be really impressed by the results. I'm uncertain how she didn't figure it out, but at the same time I guess she enjoyed bragging to the other teacher that her subject gets the best marks in the whole school. We were really subtle about everything, and the agreement between classes worked out great until this one thing happened. Like most school classes, you always get more diligent or more loose students. The good, more behaved students in our class usually denied looking at the answers saying that's cheating, and one day we will get caught. However, we didn't and we kept getting better and better grades until they started to become a bit jealous. There was this really difficult exam approaching, so everyone was worried about it, or almost everyone. One of our classmates got so anxious that she went against her principal and asked for the answers to the test after we've got them from the other class. So, we hand them to her advising that she should handle them carefully and keep calm about the whole thing. It was the first time she was cheating on a test. They grow up so fast. Most students finished their paper and handed them over. This one particular classmate was all sweaty and looking really worried. She kept glancing underneath her desk repeatedly, so the teacher took notice. When the teacher approached the anxious student, she found the piece of paper with the answers on it. Now she was on to us. She took the student in private to talk. We knew we were all going down. She wouldn't keep her mouth shut. She divulged to the teacher our plan and how we managed to all pass and get good grades during all this time. The teacher was furious, so she cancelled all scheduled tests and devised new ones, which were different this time and far more difficult. She also announced that from now on, the test will be unannounced and they can happen at any time. So we all must be prepared for every class. That year I became an expert at history. There was no other choice. Sometimes, too much or powerful information can overwhelm weak people. Maybe my classmate should have just stayed with her principal all the way. Subscribe. Thanks for watching UpGoat Reddit. Try like and subscribe button if it's